Hey, welcome to episode 32. This would not be a shit show if we did not have technical difficulties. It all started on my end, but then it went to Cooksey. He's having a hard time getting in the link. You know, I could make all sorts of inappropriate, explicit jokes on why his PC's not letting it in, but we'll just leave that to whatever. So I have a special guest. His name is Tevin. He does the YouTube channel of 441 Motocross, and the dude gets millions of views. He's able to put together a bunch of stuff because we all know that the backlog of racing, if you're looking for like a crash compilation or anything, this dude has done good stuff. So I appreciate you having on board, Tevin. So how are you doing, man?
Everything's good, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm probably going to ask you to speak up a little bit because you're a little quiet over there. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe it's just because you're
on my
far away from
phone.
the speaker.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Leave
everything's
it to
good.
me. Hey, show everybody your rings though, real quick, because we were watching that in the
They're so
the
cool.
chains there. It's
I think
Those
they're
are
I
like
very
like it.
cool.
And then we've got Coach, which, dude, I am going to say that I for one am so grateful that you're still around. This SOB had a heart attack last week and he still did the live show from the hospital, didn't tell anybody. I had to get some information from other people, and if it wasn't for him being so fit, literally his heart valves, you've got two arteries, one of them was completely clogged and it should have taken a normal person out. But no, Robb, with the background that he has, was just, I don't know, dude, you're a phenom. So you're a different kind of breed, Coach. And I was super scared, and you never once let on that something was going wrong. So you're so humble. I know you never really wanted to talk about it, and I kind of threw this open here, but we live in an era of self-help, and it's okay to ask for help sometimes. This guy wouldn't even let me send him flowers or anything from his hospital. He told Michaela, his wife, not to give me the address.
No, it's all good, man. It's you're gonna kind of laugh at this. I don't want to burn up any time on today's show about this, but I've been having problems for about 2 years, believe it or not. And I kind of chalked it up to long COVID. And I've come to find out that I've had about 25 small heart attacks over the last 2 years and didn't even realize it until the echocardiogram came back and the physician was talking about it. And that's not what I want to focus on. What I thought was interesting is I've been trying to get into a cardiologist now for a couple of weeks, and I couldn't get in without an EKG report. So I went to a walk-in clinic because they, of course, can do an EKG, and they immediately sent me to the ER. And they said that if I hadn't gone in on Saturday morning, I wouldn't have lived through that night. So here we are a week later. But here's the ironic part. On Saturday night, Michaela and I were supposed to go to, and I'm not exaggerating, we were supposed to go to a fundraiser for the American Heart Association. So we kind of laughed, bump, bump. That's where we were headed to on Saturday night. I got in on Saturday morning. And so with that being said, I'm actually going to be doing a video kind of giving everybody the backdrop as to how did I get here? I'm 11% body fat. I train 10 to 12 hours a week. And yet I've had multiple heart attacks. And as you alluded to, the doctor said that if I hadn't come in, I wouldn't have lived another 3 hours. So I'm going to do a video on, I'm not stupid, I'm not stubborn, I'm not ignorant, whatever adjective you want to give me, but I am going to share my story because the American Heart Association's asked if I would share that video with them, and we are going to try to raise some money for it. It's been a huge eye opener for me because I thought I knew what a heart attack was, but boy, was I wrong. And I want to make sure our listeners don't fall into the same trap that I did. I was correlating certain symptoms with long COVID, not realizing that I was actually having heart attacks. So I don't want to burn any more time up on today. Thank you for bringing it up. I appreciate all the positive thoughts and text messages that did come in. But yeah, as they say, you just have to get up one more time than you've been knocked down. So it's been a real eye opener. And I say this very humbly without getting emotional. Good to be here.
Coach?
Yeah.
Love you, brother. That's a gnarly thing. I mean, when I heard about it, my jaw just dropped. I was like, how, what the heck is going on? And life is just, it's fleeting, right? Just happy you're freaking with us here, man. I love you. You've done a lot for my family, and I know I've put you through some stuff too. And it's just, it's real life, right? We talk as much as we want about this podcast, and this stuff is live, so stuff just kind of organically happens. But I wanted to make sure that, you know, publicly said that we love you, because there's a lot of people out here that freaking love you, dude.
I appreciate it, but I appreciate everybody. And I'm just looking forward to today's show. And it's just very thankful to be here. And like I said, I'll get a video together this weekend, and I'll make sure it circulates around. Not that people want to hear my story. That's not why I want to do it. I just want to make people aware of things that, like I said, a lot of the symptoms I was going through, I was correlating them against long COVID. And when you hear my video and I share with you some of the things I went through, I don't think you'll disagree. There were no real big code red alarms that said, hey, you're having a heart attack. But again, I'll walk through each one of those, and I'll walk through a very brief timeline, because it's been going on for a little over 2 years. And I just didn't even begin to realize it. It started with us traveling and me having to get the COVID shot. And that's not to create a political firestorm here, but I did have to get the jab because of some traveling and some prior obligations that I had. And I'm not saying that my situation is because of the jab. What I will say is, you know, I did come down with COVID after getting the jab, and the symptoms that I was going through, they directly correlated with everything that I've read about, and every professional and every physician that I've spoken with said, yeah, that's symptoms of long COVID. And like I said, I've said it 4 times, and I'll promise to shut up. I will share the whole situation.
Coach,
I'll share time.
Stop. This is the show. People can they can leave if they don't want to hear it. I want to hear it.
I'm sorry, I missed the whole first part of it, and I know, and I 100% believe that stupid jab did this to you, and I'm bummed about it. And it really pisses me
Pfizer
off.
and the Moderna, the original ones, if you go to the I can't think of it off the top of my head, but the basically the foundation that looks over all the drug administration, they say that it's no
CDC,
longer
the CDC,
liable.
the
CBD,
Center, the CDD,
no.
Center for Disease Control.
Yeah, dude, my credibility just went through
THC, CBD, you got it, Johnny.
Yeah, shit. You know, F you, Cooksey. You started this whole deal by having all your technical difficulties at the
My bad.
beginning of this show. But no, the first 2 shots are banned because of side effects. So, but they don't publicly say that. If you go to the website, you can look it up.
Well, the frustrating part for me is, you know, over the last couple of years, I've been putting together 2 new companies, and I've been extremely tired, and I just chalked it up to being busy, right? And I turned 55 this year, so I chalked up a lot of fatigue to just getting older. And my memory was the one that was really scaring me. And I know this sounds a little cliche-ish, but like my short-term memory had just gone to heck in a handbasket. And I was like, man, this is just getting frustrating. And I didn't want to buy into the idea. I mean, I don't think 55 is old. Like I said, I've got a low percentage of body fat. I train 6 to 10 hours a week. I try to take an active role and responsibility, but like I couldn't even get a 1-hour run in. I couldn't, and this has been going on when we went and ran in the UK. We were in England. We went and ran through. We actually got to go to the Queen's Jubilee, so we got to run around the castle, and I couldn't run. And I went from not being able to run to where I couldn't even warm up to where, Johnny, you'll appreciate this, being in the pool. The last straw that broke the camel's back was I usually could swim between 2,000 and 3,000 yards in an hour. I swam a 50 down and back, and I was laying on the side of the pool, and I couldn't catch my breath. And it was one of those situations, if you guys have ever had sore muscles after lifting, that's what my chest has felt like for about 18 months. Just my chest is always sore, like sore muscles, and I couldn't breathe. If you have an extra computer, go look up symptoms associated with long COVID: shortness of breath, chest pain. And again, I'm going to make myself a little bit vulnerable here. For the last year, I can't bend over and put my boxers on. And my low back's just been absolutely killing me. And if you go and you look at symptoms, it says associated with long COVID is lack of mobility. So I'm foam rolling, I'm getting massage, I go to chiropractor, I'm doing all this work, and my mobility is going down, 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 down. So I'm just correlating chest pains, constant muscle tightness in my chest. And again, I don't want to get emotional here on the webinar, but podcast together. But on Wednesday
Coach,
night,
it's okay. Dude.
Well,
you had a life or death experience, right?
The frustrating part is looking back. You
Just
feel
let
like
him go, Johnny.
Well, you feel like an idiot because afterwards, I finally went to get an EKG on Saturday. The Wednesday before, I was laying in bed and I couldn't catch my breath. And it was probably the worst. Well, it was the worst I'd ever had. And Michaela goes, "Do you think you're having a heart attack?" And I said, "No, babe." I said, "My chest has been sore for 18 months. I can't catch my breath like I normally can't. But instead of it being during exercise, I was just laying down. I just brushed my teeth and I laid down and I couldn't catch my breath. I rolled over. I don't know. I rolled over and I texted my boys and I said, "I love you and I'm proud of you." I didn't want to scare them. I didn't want them, but it was just something was like, man, this shit is not right. And Michaela goes, "Do you need to go to the hospital?" And I said, "No, it's just this fucking long COVID. And it's just been 2 years and I'm tired of it." And I just kind of laughed about it because I'm tired of it, you know? And that was on Wednesday. And evidently that's when I had the full blown heart attack. And I woke up. And so long story short, on trying to get into the cardiologist, that's when I go to get the AKG. That's when I end up getting put into the ER room at one hospital. They immediately shot my stomach with a blood thinner, fucking burnt like crazy. Immediately start IV drips. They go into overdrive. The problem is the way you see me right now is exactly how I looked there. I felt fine. That's why you guys didn't recognize anything in the podcast, because I don't feel bad externally.
Yeah, I know, you fucker. You freaking having a heart attack. We went around the show like nothing happened.
I couldn't believe that.
But the idea is I don't feel bad. I mean, internally I'm sore and I can't breathe, but I've been doing it for 18 months. So you just kind of get desensitized to it. So they start the blood thinners and all this. But the bottom line was, once I finally got in and they went into my heart through my femoral artery. And I don't know if anyone who's listening's ever had this, but they don't put you under. They want to be able to talk to you so that if, you do say, "Ouch, that hurts," there's enough anesthesia in your femoral artery. You shouldn't feel it. So they want, as the doctor told me, you're going to feel it before we're going to see it on the computer. And there's enough rumbling in the room. There's 6 or 8 people in the room. And I hear the doctor say it's 100% blocked. I've never been in heart surgery before. I don't know what that means. What's blocked? The door blocked, my heart's blocked. And so, to make a long story even longer, the doctor there's a sense of hurry all of a sudden. And I hear them arguing over the size of the shunt that they're going to put in. And next thing I know, the doctor's done about an hour later. And he's like, "Yeah," he goes, "We didn't think you were going to make it off the table." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Because I'm not in pain, right? I mean, I'm not gasping for air. And this is where I got educated. When you think of somebody having a heart attack, I picture somebody walking down the street, has a heart attack, drops to the ground. That's what I always envisioned a heart attack.
Those old, when you're watching Judge Judy, you have that like infomercial come through about the little button that you put around your neck when you need
give me
help.
the button. That's right. Give me the button. Yeah. Life support. Right. And so any rate, the procedure is over and the cardiologist brings over the camera and he goes, "Let me show you something." And he puts my heart up on there and he says, "You see that little thin line that goes to a dead end?" He goes, "That's your left atrium or left aorta." He goes, "Your right side of your chest has been supporting the entire heart now for as long as this has been going on." And then I said, "It's going on for about 2 years." And he goes, "If you didn't have the cardiac output that you did, you would have died months ago." He said, "So what we don't know," and that's why I got to go back on Thursday, is they're afraid there's quite a bit of heart damage, as you can imagine, right? There's no oxygen going to 80% of the heart, but I'll deal with heart damage and try to work on bringing it back versus not getting a chance to try to work to bring it back. So that kind of brings us up to where we're at right now. But my inner thigh, literally from my femoral artery, it's right to the side of your pubic bone. It's absolutely purple and the size of a softball from my inner thigh up over my belt line over my right hip. So walking's a little bit uncomfortable, but wow. That'll be fine.
Do you have one of those cool toilet seats that You know what I'm talking about? The
Yeah.
like big pillows.
I don't know. I don't know that anyone knows what you're talking about, Johnny.
Maybe I've just been injured too much because
Yeah,
you get all
absolutely.
the okay.
But no, we're home, and I don't go back to the doctor till next Thursday. And another thing, kind of behind the scenes, one of the things I've been trying to work on is I'm supposed to go. Well, we are. I surprised Michaela a couple months ago, and I bought tickets. I bought tickets to take Michaela to go see Pink, and so I was going to kind of tease and see if I could hit up Jace or somebody to see if I could. Hey, that's all right. I want to take see if Corey Hart would let me come in. Carrie Hart would let me come in and get to meet Pink. That would be Michaela's dream come true. So I'm going to try to. Jace and I have not been able to get connected. Just a little side note on Jace. But at any rate, I've got to go to the doctor on Thursday because I'm supposed to fly Friday, and if I can't fly, I'm going to drive so Michaela can see Pink on Friday night. But a little side note, Johnny, you got a chance to go out to meet with Jason, do that podcast. I was supposed to fly out last week, and we just couldn't get our schedules to coordinate. And the doctor said, had I got on that flight, I would have actually died in the air. Hey, it's okay. Think about the irony of that. I mean, literally think about the irony of that. I couldn't get my schedule coordinated. I mean, it's just, to me, it's just really cool, I think.
Dude, Jason and I, we talked a lot about the simulation and just not believing that in destiny and all sorts of really gnarly stuff. No, it was I really consider him my unlicensed therapist. But
he's good. I'll give him credit. He's good at what he does.
No, and he's it was fun to shake his hand, but because of 9/11, I saw a lot of stuff on Twitter about guys saying like, hey, I was supposed to be on those flights and I gave up my first class ticket and I ended up doing coach, and I was super pissed about it because I wasn't going to get to New York on time or, whatever.
Yeah.
And then just come to find out what happened. You didn't die because you didn't get on those planes. And it's just, it's one of those things where in a different universe, coach, you're not with us here.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's nice to live in this one that you are.
Well, and it's just crazy because when I flew out to California a couple months ago, Jason and I were supposed to get together and the equipment went down. So I flew out to do the show with him, and then I drove to Fresno to do a performance camp. And so I went out, the technical equipment wouldn't work, and Jace was really frustrated. I said, man, it's all right, stuff happens. So I drove from there to Fresno, did the camp, came home, and this was us trying to make up for that one because now he's in the States. Obviously, he did the live one with you. So it's just, whether you call it destiny, fate, faith, whatever you want to call it. To me, looking back in hindsight, it's been a really interesting 2 weeks. Obviously, a big perspective change on a lot of things, kind of reset a lot of things, as you can imagine. But yeah, I will. I'll put together a full timeline with everybody because, like I said, the American Heart Association asked if I would do something for them now, and tied in with the fundraiser that Michaela and I were supposed to go to on Saturday night.
I wish you had a different setup currently right now because I know in the lobby you were saying that you couldn't see the chat. There's a lot of heartfelt comments on here.
I
Coach.
appreciate it.
And so, hey guys, we live in a effing small bubble when it comes to motorcycles, but there's a lot of real life that happens outside of motorcycles. So I wanted Coach to talk about it. And dude, I've never seen you cry. We all know that I'm a toddler. I was tearing up over here.
No, I appreciate it, man. And that's just another thing. I know I'm tired, but it's been 2 years of tired. And it's, again, I know this is going to sound a little bit flaky, but when he put that stent in my chest, it's like you could feel the weight of the world come off, and you're like, yeah, correlation, causation. You're going to hear me say that quite a bit in the video because I was doing a lot of that. The thing that blows my mind is my mental clarity. I can tell you every single nurse and doctor that walked in my room, literally, Alicia, Adam, Tyler, Dr. Talley, Dr. Knight, every doctor. And if you'd asked me that a week ago and asked me to do that, shit, I couldn't remember anything. And so to me, it's like the mental focus and the awareness. And, I was teasing you guys via text. It's amazing what oxygen will do to your brain. And, it's just, I could go on and on about it. And this is no disrespect to anybody who vapes, but, talking to the doctors in there, and they're like, vaping is worse than cigarette smoking because of the concentration rate. We don't know the debt. And I'm like, I couldn't imagine being 55 years old, being 100 pounds overweight, and have smoked for 15 years going, now what do I do? What do I do now? Yeah, I got a second chance, but you know, what if, I don't know, man. I just hope if there's a young person that's vaping today, I hope you'll stop, man. Cause that shit was not something that you can't reverse it. All I could do is go in there and say, yeah, my 35 years of being an athlete saved my life. Yeah, I could chalk that up to that. But man, you young kids out there, we've only got one heart. You've only got one set of lungs. And I'll never take that for granted ever again. Not that I did it intentionally, but like anything, it certainly heightens your awareness pretty damn quick. Glad to
I
be
think
here.
that's a good segue to things that really matter, and partially maybe my perception on the Motocross of Nations when it comes to the United States.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of underlying issues. I know, Cooksey, you made a video about it, and Tevin, we want to know your thoughts on it too, because we know you're a super fan, just like all of us. You've been how long have you been a content creator?
Since my first channel I made in 2007.
Dang.
Yeah.
And so you've got 130,000 subscribers, and how many millions of views do you have?
I really don't know, man.
Okay. You don't check up
There's a
on it.
bunch of videos I deleted over the years, so it could be a big number. It's all, so
That's
can't
awesome.
calculate.
And so it's nice to see your face and to have you on here, because I know a lot of the content you make is you're splicing together a lot of the moto stuff, which is
Right.
awesome, dude. And bringing it back full circle to what I'm talking about, I kind of think the Super Motocross has made it to where the riders are like, dude, I get no time off. How am I going to go to the Motocross of Nations now? I don't get paid, and I don't want to get hurt because this is my prime testing time. But then as an American, you want to carry your flag, and I can't help but say I'm a little bit disappointed in the team. Like, yeah, we still have an amazing riders, but like the whole Motocross of Nations to me is like the Olympics. You send your best and we see who is the best. And not to put anything away from Christian Craig and RJ and AP, we know they're fast as fuck. I just don't think that they're the best team that we could have sent. And so if we're not willing to send our best team because the riders don't want to go, what is the catalyst behind that? Cooksey, who you guys just
Sorry,
opened.
I'm just trying not to talk. I'm still so taken back from Coach. Like, I don't know. I'm Coach. I'm so glad you're here, man.
I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, that's gnarly. I had no clue we were that close to losing you. And I don't know, man. I don't know what I'd do if you weren't around, Coach. I sure as hell wouldn't do this with just Johnny.
No, I appreciate it, brother.
No rebuttal. No rebuttal.
I know, I'm kidding. But no, like the destinations, it's a stupid. Yeah, I did a video. It's a scam. It really is. It's a scam for Ustream or In Front Promotions or whatever Giuseppe's calling his thing this year. What it is it's a free race for him, and he gets everybody, and he uses everybody's national pride from not just the United States, but all the different countries to come over there, race for free while he takes a truckload of money home and doesn't even bother to pay expenses or very little expenses. And these guys just have too many other things on their plate. If you want to do an event, a true national Olympic style event, I'm all for it. I love it. I think when you have it, it's awesome. But every other sport, pretty much, I mean, there's probably some knucklehead in the chat that's going to give me an example of one that's every year. But look at the Olympics, 4 years. Ryder Cup, 2 years. World Cup soccer, 4 years. You have to have a break every single year. It's just called the World Championship. If you want to have an exceptional event, you have to just build up the anticipation, allow these countries. So if they did this every 2 or 4 years, that would give SMX and these guys, it would give them a platform to say, okay, hey, it's a Nations year. Let's work around it. And then share the wealth too. Like, make sure the top, if you qualify 1 year, your team should be paid the next year. You shouldn't have to come out of pocket. Bobby Regan shouldn't have to budget $150,000 to send Hayden Deegan and Cooper Webb over there. It just shouldn't happen. Or at least he should be compensated. But the problem is for somebody like Bobby Regan, you put your guys over there and they lose. And guess what? You didn't even get your own graphics on the bike. I love that it's American flag and nobody wants to take away from that. But they're not the ones spending that giant nut every single year. These guys like Bobby they're saints, and they'll do it every couple of years, but it's just unfair to ask them to do it every single damn year.
Well, Chris, where you got my attention was Giuseppe's role in it, and the idea that Giuseppe has the
Evan,
MXGP.
it's okay to be a dick like me and interrupt if you want to say
Absolutely.
something.
They're teaching me things I don't know, so I can't really comment. Yeah, I don't know who Giuseppe, so I'm listening.
Giuseppe Longo runs Youth Stream, or In Front is what they're calling it now. They own the rights to the MXGP and also the Des Nations. They promote all that.
But what people don't realize, or maybe a lot of our chat room probably will because they're diehards, is the MXGP riders don't even get paid to race the MXGP races. There's no prize purse at the MXGPs. So to me, it's very interesting that now you have Giuseppe, who is getting, as you say, Chris, literally has created an event where people are willing to come and race for free. It's kind of frightening to think that, you know, that mindset has been embraced by the entire European market. That was something that I thought was interesting. One question that I had for you guys, when we had Des Nations here, has anybody heard or talked directly or indirectly? It was at Redbud, wasn't it? Or was it Redbud or Bud's Creek?
Last year?
Had it? Yes, sir.
Redbud.
Okay, so we had it at Redbud. Do we ever hear like any kind of revenue that it generated? Because I don't know what the revenue split's going to be. If we hold it here, how much does Giuseppe get for his, you know, like you say, the ownership rights, royalties, whatever? That's awesome. Absolutely, Johnny. Throw it out there, man. We love those.
I'll be honest with you, Coach. I don't know the revenue splits on that one. Like I said, I've done my digging on MX Sports and the Outdoor Nationals, but when it comes to the world stuff, yeah, they keep it pretty locked down on those numbers. So I don't know. I'd have to get whoever runs Redbud to give me that information, and they have not.
I just can't imagine anybody who's listening to this show. You own your own company, and you know it's kind of like going to work for free because you're a nice guy. That's what this is all about. Like you say, Bobby Reagan putting up money to go race somebody else's race. To me, it doesn't make any sense.
I do like the idea of every 4 years, sort of like the Olympics. I think that's a smarter idea for sure.
I agree. Yeah, I do, because it would make it to where people are like, this doesn't happen every year. Yeah. You know, it's always an honor to get invited, but if it's every 4 years, you're probably going to be less likely to turn it down.
Well, you have the scarcity principle. Plus, if you go back 5 or 6 years ago, Hunter and Jet weren't even on the radar. Now they're the top dogs, right? Well, think about it. If going to Chris's point, if we have it every 4 years, kids that are in the B class at Loretta's would be the ones that would be, you know, striving to make that achievement level in the 250 class, kind of like a Hayden Deegan is doing right now. Obviously, the 450 and the premier two top guys, but think about how, like Chris was saying in his video, if you did it on a 4-year rotation, you have kids on super minis going, hey, wait, if I do the calendar right, I might be able to stagger it's just no different than somebody that tries to make the Olympics in swimming. You know, if you're 11 years old and you're looking at the rotation of the Olympics, you're like, hey, maybe I can make that 2025 Olympics or whatever it may be. So
and could you imagine if you had 4 years to then be like, hey, we're going to do kind of what the Super Motocross does, where $1 million to team 1, 500,000 to country 2, and you'd have time to try to follow and find that stuff. Everybody in the chat room, all you guys that are watching, I'm making a poll of what you guys think. So answer it.
The other thing I don't understand, and Chris,
don't tell me what to do, Johnny.
I said please at the end of it.
We've
not dictator-ish. Please, if you'd like to. Oh, and while you're at it, hit the like button too.
That would be awesome. Here's something I don't understand, and this comes back to the subject of AMA. Shouldn't the government, if we are going to send a team, and Chris, like you said, if we did it every 4 years, it wouldn't be as hard on the financial coffers. But shouldn't the governing body be responsible for representing the United States American Motorcycle Association? Shouldn't that be on the cusp of their budget? I know they won't do it, but what a novel idea. Yeah.
You'd think, but the problem is the AMA is so split. I mean, AMA Pro Racing handles outdoor motocross and I think Supercross now, and then AMA handles amateur. It's a cluster, and I don't know how you'd pin it down to one specific organization, and they're all passing the bag. And you know who gets left holding it is the teams and the riders, and then they go over there, get their ass kicked. They just spend all their own money to get over there, and they're actually worth less afterwards. So it doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think we did it on the show where we took the number of members and we just used an average price. We didn't take in family discount, lifetime membership and all that. Would we come up with 10,500? Goes back to, like you're saying, what'd you say, Chris? Star's guesstimate was around 120.
I was completely ballparking.
Okay.
But I would say if you're going to send 2 guys, if you're sending Webb, Deegan, and then for all the personnel that goes along with them, I see it's got to be around 100. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm shooting from the hip.
But if you've got a governing body that's taken in $10.5 million just on sheer membership, that's not sponsorship revenue and all the other stuff that they do, sanctions, all the revenue that they've got. I don't know. It just seems odd to me. And if I don't articulate this correctly, let me know. It's like us saying that we have an American swim team that wasn't sent by the governing body. Think about it. Every single sports governing body is responsible for how do we select our top swimmers, our top divers, our top runners, every sport that's over there. And as a result of that, the governing body has to put in money, and that's how you get your USOC money. I don't know if people are aware of that, but first of all, you have to get accepted into the USOC, the United States Olympic Committee. So like, for example, the sport of triathlon never had been in the sport of triathlon, had been in the Olympics until 2000 in Sydney. Well, you got to jump through all kinds of political bureaucracy to get, your sport into it. But then what ends up happening is the funding for that sport comes through the government, through USOC. Why is motorcycle racing not doing the same thing? Even though we're, as Johnny said at the beginning, we're in our own little bubble, we do have a governing body. Chris, your idea of being at every 4 years is brilliant because it brings more clout. It brings more credibility to it, makes it more logistically easy to fund it, because now you're looking at raising money over 4 years. If AMA is bringing in 10 million a year, that's 40 million. They could take $1 million out to send a team over there.
So far,
and do
the
it
chat is
correctly.
saying they want to see it every 2 years.
Okay, that would be legit.
What's your problem with number 3? Is it because Tomac's number 3 and you don't like him, Johnny? Like, why wouldn't you put 3 years in there? What's wrong with 3? Why would we go
Honestly,
2 to 4?
I didn't even think about putting 3. I put every year 2, 4, or none at all.
I know. I'm like, where's 3? Because I think 3 is the right number, because it's not. And somebody brought up that, the careers in motocross aren't the longest careers. So you don't want to go with 4, because that seems a bit long. I mean, you could time it to where you might miss a guy's complete, sometimes guys only have 3-4 years of dominance. But if you did every 3 years, you'd at least give everyone a shot if they're healthy. And that's but that's it. It's not an everybody gets a trophy type situation. It's you're healthy in that 3rd year. And I mean, think about these Olympic athletes when they go through and don't make fun of that's what you get for making fun of my technical difficulties.
Dude, effing Arizona.
Okay.
Sorry,
Chris.
Where's the race this year at the Nations?
France.
Right. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
And think about this, Tevin. It's in France, and Dylan Ferrandis doesn't have a ride. That's how screwed up this race is.
Well, he has a ride. I think it's with HEP. I'm not positive all the details. It will come out after the LA round, but they would not. And I tried so hard to get it out of them. They would not give me the solution that he has signed, but they wouldn't tell me where.
I apologize, Chris. I was saying it's in France. The Tour de France is in France. And yet Dylan, who's top 3 in the outdoor nationals, isn't even going to get selected to a team to race in his own country. Go figure.
That's ridiculous.
What about Marvin? Is Marvin available? Marvin Muscan?
Marvin is supposed to be eligible to possibly come back and race Supercross, but they didn't put him on the outdoor team for Destinations.
I don't think he really wanted to be on it either, because he's kind of just taking the summer off and doing his thing.
Well, Supercross is I'm not going to say easier, but it's less wear and tear, obviously. A lot, it's easier to dial in a Supercross track than constant motocross track. So,
well, and I honestly, I genuinely feel bad for RJ Hampshire and Christian Craig. AP, I like
RJ Gunn. I like RJ Gunn. I can't say the same for AP and Christian. I like RJ Gunn.
Yes, but I love RJ too. But the problem is coming off that massive head injury at Unadilla. He should not have been. I don't care what people say. I went over and looked him right in the eye. That dude does not look right. Like you can just tell when someone's had the head injury and they don't look good. And maybe it was because he hit his head in that first moto. When I saw him afterward, I saw him in between motos. I'm sorry. He just does not look like a guy that should be out there right now, but they just keep dragging him out there. And I just don't want that guy to have that kind of pressure, because RJ will never say no. That dude has so much heart and he will fight. You will never get cheated on effort, but I don't want him to hurt himself in the process. And then Christian Craig, I mean, kudos to him for being such a savage to step up when everyone else said no. And he knows he's probably going to get his ass kicked, and he's probably going to take a beating, and everyone's going to talk about the shitty team we sent. And it might not be fun, but he said, you know what, I'm in, I'll do it. So kudos to them, but it does suck. And then AP, I mean, he's pretty good, but he should be the third best guy on the team, in my opinion.
Is there any way that you could get those three guys, maybe not on their record? Chris, you have a lot of ties in. You look at that whole peer mobility group and you look at who's running the selection process. And we've read and heard a lot about riders that were offered, declined, offered, declined, offered, declined. And yet, if you look at the three riders selected, they're all under the same umbrella as the team manager. Pressure, have to do it, wanted to do it. What do you think the gist would be amongst, if you got those three guys in a private room without a microphone? Because we know that they're
off
all
record, you mean? Because they wouldn't say.
Well, yeah. I mean, we know that AP is, he bleeds red, white, and blue. I mean, he's not shy or bashful about it, but does he really want to go? We know Christian, he's very, very devout to the Des Nations team. He's proud to be on there. Like you said, I think RJ is a pit bull in a fight. But it's just interesting that all of the bikes are under the same peer mobility group, which happens to coincide with the same manager. Just makes you wonder. Because Chris, when you said it in your video about they're damned if they do and they damned if they don't. If we don't go, we should have gone. If Christian does go and gets a beat down, because in all fairness, we saw what Cooper Webb was not able to do last weekend, and he's not coming back from an injury. And yet Christian's coming off a bed, and going to go race MXGP guys. If that was not a dig on Christian Craig, just look at what Cooper was not able to do. And you could argue it's because he's on a Yamaha, but he's been on a Yamaha for 4 months.
So was Craig the last choice? Literally the last choice as an American?
On a 450, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I heard they were even talking about bringing Zach Osborne out of retirement. So,
but do you see this still under the same? Do you see it's all under the same color? It's all under the same umbrella still.
In fact, yeah.
So it's almost like if we don't go, then Roger's ego is going to get dented because he couldn't put a team together, because he's. And Roger's in a can't win situation as well. No matter who he selects, it's not going to be good enough because the people he wants to select don't want to go. I mean, Chris, I have to go with you. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Dude, how Team Australia, let's just say it. You've got Jet, Hunter, and Dean Ferris. Like,
geesh.
Yeah, it's
that one's going to be tough.
That's your favorite. That's your number one seed going in, which doesn't always mean anything. Whoever... France can do an off-road.
Jeremy Roxon's doing it. Hey,
what'd you say, Chris?
I said France can put like an enduro guy on, and they're still a threat no matter what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it's their hometown. So
yeah. That's always a tough one to overcome, is that home soil. But no, it's going to be interesting, Chris.
Is this the straw that gets? So Kawasaki's pretty much stood up and said, we're not contributing. Yamaha now, it looks like that's what they're doing now. Honda hasn't exactly volunteered anyone. Well, I guess they are, because they're taking Jet and Hunter, but like these.
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, didn't Lars, wasn't he pretty straight up that he was happy to provide a bike for Sexton?
Yeah, these are the two big heavy hitters. Sorry, I'm interrupting. I was wanting to show bigger here. France and Australia. It's pretty much a race between these two guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we still might be able to get third. And because I interrupted you guys, so I'm just.
You think we're gonna get third, Johnny? You think?
I mean, I'm saying that possibly.
It could snow in Vegas tomorrow too, but it's probably not going to.
Well, did you guys find it interesting?
Netherlands is going to be tough.
Did you guys find it interesting that Kawasaki refuses to do anything if Roger's involved?
No, I get that. I totally understand. I mean, I love Roger. Roger's the greatest.
Absolutely, of all time.
But at the
Is
same
Joe
time,
gonna go? Do you guys know if you think Joe's gonna go?
I would
Hope
say
so.
Joe does not go because he wants to shake down that new Honda.
well, and that's the thing.
And
Okay, so
who would his teammates be for Japan?
nobody.
I mean, why would he even bother to go? He's going to go shake a Honda down and win A1 is what he's going to go do.
Yeah.
Well, he might be celebrating an SMX title. Who knows?
Yeah, it's looking pretty good right now.
Dude, he looked solid last week.
Yeah,
And
hopefully.
I love what they've done with the track this week. And that it is essentially, they're like going back to their roots. So people forget Supercross was just outdoor
Fucking
motocross.
God.
Johnny.
Sorry, language.
Uh,
Jeez.
sorry.
Dude,
We lost
it's freaking hot as fuck here in Arizona, and I've got this $5,000 damn camera. Realistically, it's
Oh.
only 3,000, but this shit should happen.
Have
Finish
you
your thought,
guys
Chris.
have you ever spoke about the pro circuit curse on this?
Earlier in the year, we were talking quite a bit about it.
Does it seem like it's getting, exercise, what they say, The Exorcist?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I
Yeah.
think Chris and both Johnny have talked about the idea that, early in the season, nobody was very content with the Cowies. And I think, Chris, you even mentioned it in your last video that, Mitch has figured it out and Joe seems to be really gelling with the bike. I mean, look at Ryder D. I mean, he got the whole shot in lead for what, 3 or 4 laps. Seth Hamaker's always a good starter. He's always up there. Then you throw in there Joe Shimoda and you've got your boys are back in there. But you're right, Tevin. It's been a rough year for him, for sure.
Yeah, I haven't really talked about the pro circuit curse. What it was is I talked to people pretty close to the team. And when all the riders were getting hurt, everyone was complaining, yeah, the bike's okay, but we don't know what it's going to do. It had no feedback. And the guys were wanting different parts that didn't probably look as good on paper, but they gave you a better feel. And they were kind of at odds. And that's where Joe got pissed, Ryder got pissed, and they went and signed other places. But now it seems like whatever was going on, they fixed it. And now I'm like, oh, great. Now they're going to leave. And you can't tell me when Ryder goes from that pro circuit Kawasaki to a gas, he's going to be disappointed because I'm sorry, those bikes just aren't as good as the pro circuits right now.
Yeah.
And, same with Joe. Joe's will be close, but that Honda is not as good as a Cowie, in my opinion. I think Hunter makes up for it. And I mean, look how good Jet has gone from the 250 to the 450. That 250 was a hindrance.
Quick question for Coach. We've got a super chat that says, "You're the man, Coach. Question about riders being sick on the day of the race. Example, Levi Kitchen last weekend. If these guys are so trained and fit, why do they seem to get sick a lot?"
Unfortunately, if you get run into the ground, your immune system, and I know that sounds like a Captain Obvious statement, if you're constantly, third gear pinned, you're on a calorically restricted diet, you're traveling, you're testing. A lot of people don't realize specifically on the 250 team, those athletes are not allowed to eat that many calories. The whole idea here is they want their strength to weight ratios to be as optimized as possible. And the big selling tool on the factory teams is we need you to be essentially horse jockeys. We want you just heavy enough to be able to ride the bike, but we want you to get the whole shot. So they put this fear of God in them to not eat enough calories. That's why you see, look at Star Yamaha last year. The entire 250 team was decimated. Look at the beginning of Pro Circuit this year, decimated. Well, how many years in a row are we going to see complete decimation of teams before people wake up and go, you can't run a restricted diet. You can't run high intensity training every day, high volume intensity training, then jump in an airplane, which is extremely taxing on the human body, and then expect to perform optimally on the weekend. And then we've talked about it ad nauseum, especially this year with so many races. The season just keeps getting longer and longer. So for those that are in the chat room having these types of questions, imagine yourself every day training guts to the wall for 4 hours a day, do that 6 days a week, add a race on it, plus travel, your immune system gets jeopardized. Now, there is a little bit of some smokescreen and mirrors going on. We were just talking about the Cowie team. If you guys want something humorous, go back and look at, before we started the Super Duper series, go look at the injury list. And every weekend they said that Jet Reynolds has food poisoning. They said it literally for 4 consecutive weeks in a row. Now, as I've joked about off the record, I think maybe he should look for a new place to eat before a race weekend, because when was the last time you guys got food poisoning? And one's the chances that you would get it 4 weekends in a row. So I don't know how stupid and naive the PR directors are for these teams, or I think maybe they just don't think anybody pays attention. But I absolutely laughed out loud. Literally, it says Jet Reynolds not racing because of food poisoning 4 consecutive weeks in a row. The kid has Epstein-Barr. He's exhausted. He's chewed up. The system has literally chewed him up from the inside out. And unfortunately, until the riders make a stand against it, it's only going to get worse. But
Sexton in beginning of motocross, I
Yeah.
mean, he was having some.
So Johnny, you
Health
bring up a good
issues.
point. You bring up a good point. So what do you do when you recognize that your body's run into the ground? We're not talking about, let's not get down the bunny trail of PEDs and all the other stuff that they're doing. What do you do when you can't catch up? You take a couple of weeks off. You just remove yourself from the hamster wheel, and your body comes, because these guys are a very, very top end athletes. They don't need, a month or two. They just sometimes need a 2 or even a 3 week break, and they'll get that bounce back. And I think that's what we saw with Sexton. He came back, his batteries were recharged. So,
Good segue for Motocross of Nations, right?
Yeah. Yep,
You need to take a
absolutely.
break. You
Yep.
have 33 races here. And for you guys that don't know, the majority of the reason why you have 33 races for the super motocross stuff with motocross and supercross is, I believe, or I'm under the impression that is it NBC or is it CBS that I think it's CBS that owns Peacock. In order for them to pony up the big majority of the $10 million, I think it's like 6 million, they needed to have that many races, right? Because we've all talked about, to the extent of like, we need less and less and less and less. Well, if the dude that's holding all the money says, no, you need more races, what are you going to do? You're going to be like, okay, cool, more races.
But it goes back to what Chris said. This is where having a designated team of riders, you have 3 riders on your team that's Supercross specialists, 3 riders that are moto outdoor. It solves the problem. It reduces the wear and tear on the riders. I feel bad for the teams because, yeah, great. And Johnny, I think Peacock's owned by NBC, actually. The idea that NBC
Thank you
is
for the
saying,
correction.
well, just like you're saying, it's now you've got a $6 million little carrot that's thrown out there. And it's just a shame that the riders and the teams, I mean, we've talked about the way that these truck drivers have to drive across the country, literally crisscross the entire country. Not only is that hard on the drivers, but think about the expenses for these teams. It's not cheap to drag an 18-wheeler around the country, And so now, and I think it's interesting, some of the industry pundits that have talked about it have even come out and said, hey, look, in all honesty, I've talked to some of the mechanics and they're wore out. They're tired. They can't wait for these 3 races to be over. Now, it's interesting. Nobody who is in these corner offices, and Chris, you're very plugged in this environment. How many of these top end mechanics, how many of these truck drivers, how many of these team managers were really brought in and said, what are your thoughts on going to a 33 race season? Because I don't think you would have one of them.
No, they didn't ask any of them.
No. And yet, some of the other talk shows.
Expendable.
Well, but that's the problem. Some of the talk shows have talked to these mechanics and they're like, man, we cannot wait for this to get over. And the sad part is it really will not be over, because as soon as these next 2 rounds are done, what are they going into? Testing. I mean, it's right over. Yep.
Tevin, what do you think about the long series?
I think it's pretty crazy, but I do like the addition of SMX. But going toward, as far as the designations, it's too cluttered. It's too cluttered.
Are you more hyped for Super Motocross than MX of Nations? And sorry, I didn't let you finish.
No, I've never liked the Nations, really. It's never been my thing. So
why so?
There's less
Broadcasters or don't know the riders, or
there's less excitement. That's all. That's really it. It's less of a, last year, but the thing is, I'm Bermudian. My team's not going to end up there. None of my riders here are professional really like that. So I root for America, of course. So it was nice to see him last year. But other than that, it's just another race, really, to me, to an outsider,
Yeah.
Have you guys ever sent a team?
No.
Who's the top rider in that area?
The top rider, he's not here. He's in Canada racing.
Oh,
So that's
There you go.
it's only one track here.
okay.
You can't do much here.
Yeah.
You have to leave.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But that,
So I
you know,
see it as like an off race, it's just I would prefer a Monster Energy Cup over SMX, I think. But the Coliseum race, I wanted to attend this year, but I do like that. If that was like the Monster Energy Cup every year, just in the Coliseum, I would appreciate that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I am
So nostalgic.
I am just praying to the moto gods that Deegan wins LA and sends a ghost ride. That's it.
Yeah. When you made that comment in your video, I thought, how epic would that actually be? And everybody will be anticipating it for sure. Of course,
Well, if
you
he
know,
wins, he has to ghost ride it. But
yeah, but can you imagine how many people from the AMA are going to go, if you ghost ride this bike, we will fire you. We will ban you for 15
they will
years.
do nothing. They will do nothing. They can't do anything. It's the best thing that could possibly happen to this sport. And they would be idiots, which I've never said they're geniuses, but if they were to do something over that, I mean, maybe you come down with like a public statement, but you're just going to let it go.
Yeah, that's what they might do, a public statement, and then
There
let
you
it
go.
go. If they want the numbers, they know what to do for sure.
Well, it reminded me of you guys remember during the X Games when Travis sent his bike into the Hudson River, and there was some hint that he was going to do it, and then he had that big vest on and then just fully sends it. Yeah, he got a little slap on the hand here and there, but it was pretty benign.
Hey, did Brian get fined for
Yes.
ghost riding?
Yes, I think they actually took his prize money away. They definitely hit him up.
I think I remember being like $5,000 or something.
There was some sort of a back in the day, whatever crowdfunding is, and they got him his money that way.
That's awesome. Wasn't Watson his mechanic at the time?
Oh yeah. If you watch the video, Watson's standing right, almost gets hit by the bike.
That's what I thought. Okay. Yeah. I thought I remembered you saying that. Well, Chris, as many people, even though there was quite a few people that scoffed at your idea of each team having a designated group of riders that are Supercross specialists and one that would be outdoors, think about how that would literally rectify if the NBC promoters want 33 races. Great. It doesn't matter because you can spread that load, if you will, amongst two different specialists per team. Say PC, 6 riders, 3 Supercross, 3 moto. It's not like it's increasing their spend on resources. In fact, it would reduce it, right? Because you wouldn't have 6 bikes going outdoors. You'd only have 3. So that would save you some money. The truck's still going to all the races. But now when you look at the idea that the riders could, be able to, heck, maybe one year I guess the timing of it wouldn't work. I was going to say maybe one year you're Supercross, next year you're moto, but you'd end up, if you were focusing on moto this year, you'd end up going back-to-back seasons. But it would really circumnavigate a lot of the frustrations that the teams have, cost, wear and tear, riders. Promoters
Coach,
just think adding more races is where it's at.
Think about how much cooler it would be if the Super Motocross really had the meeting of the Supercross specialist versus the outdoor specialist.
Mm-hmm.
And we hadn't seen them meet all year until this. It'd be kind of cool.
No, that would be super cool because like this weekend, there's really no big rhythms. It's all
outdoors.
Just fairly outdoor. Like I'm thinking maybe some whoops, but I know a lot of the teams said that they didn't want whoops. Hey, looking at the prize money, did you guys notice this for like the 250s is from 10th place to 11th, it goes down by $10.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you finish 22nd, are you going to risk your entire, I don't know, next season to pass one dude for $10 and then $10, $10.
I want to make Johnny, I want to make fun of that, but I've also been kind of calling for that because you need to get those guys. You can't have the bottom.
I know they
guy
need to
getting
get paid.
$300.
They need to get paid. And it's a professional thing, but it's this. Okay. You know what? With new information, you need to be able to adjust your perception, right? So F you, Cooksey, for making a good
Here, Johnny, here's
point.
more money, and you're going to yell at me for it. Thanks.
No, it like local arena cross and stuff.
This $100 bill looks old. Don't take it.
Okay. Stop giving me a taste of my own medicine. Let me finish.
What,
in
Johnny?
arena cross,
Hold on, Johnny.
The dash for cash was always so exciting to watch, but you had the potential of really hurting somebody because the prize money was so much, right? And here,
it's a dangerous sport.
Entertainment, but you don't want to injure somebody. You don't want to Justin Barsha Mookie for third place money and ruin his whole outdoor motocross season because of the giant bonus check. Like, you want to still kind of keep things in check. For safety wise, I'm going to say they did a good thing, but it is
Johnny,
interesting.
When's the last time a block pass took somebody out for like an injury?
The last
that
one
would
I would say
be
was,
Zach Osborne taking out Savachi.
But that
yeah,
didn't
then
hurt.
you've
It
got
didn't hurt
Barsha
Savachi.
again with
No,
Dylan
no,
Fernandez.
Yeah, that
then
took
you've
out
got
Savachi's
Barsha
knee.
taking out Mookie in
No,
Supercross.
you're
Like,
thinking.
those are like T-bone block. Those are
Can I talk, Johnny? I was
no,
talking to Coach.
no,
Coach,
no,
Coach.
no.
Coach, you're talking about in Cincerillo in practice when he took out his knee. So it didn't hurt Savachi when he hit him at Vegas, and then Roxon when he stuck his hand in Webb's wheel. So I mean, it's not like it doesn't happen, but I don't think having a dash for cash and guys getting a little aggressive. I don't think guys are going to take each other out no matter what. I don't think that
you
adds
don't know. Okay, well let's infer mortgage payment, and you need to send it to take this guy out. What are you going to do? You're going to send it to take this guy out because you need to make your mortgage payment.
I send it for a plastic trophy. Of course.
Okay, so then what's your point? That's my whole point of what I was making.
My point to you
I
is
was
I'm
trying to
sending it
agree
for-
with you that
Oh.
having only $10 different is going to prevent guys from sending it for their mortgage payment because it's already being paid.
You lost me, Johnny. Coach, could you save us here?
No, this one's pretty helpless.
Oh.
Here's the question I have for you while Johnny's on the subject of money. We, Chris, you interviewed the gentleman from HBI. Is there still any more clarification as to who's getting the money, the team, the riders, especially on a privateer team? I mean, the gentleman from HBI was very kind and said, look, whatever they pay us, we're giving it right to Masterpool. But I did notice, and I don't know if you guys picked up on it or not, there was a little bit of a snide comment being made when some of the other talking pundits mentioned that the money was going to get paid to the teams. And there was a little snide comment that was made, wasn't addressed. And I was curious if you guys picked up on that or not.
I didn't. What was it, Coach?
Well, just that they were like, hey, the money goes to the teams. And then someone said, well, maybe. And I was like, or goes to the riders. And they said, well, maybe. And I was like,
Well,
did I miss that?
No. So technically what it is they are paying it through the teams, and the teams, I think to a man, have all just said, hey, it's going to the riders. They may take like a gas fee or something, but for the most part, the guys that show up, whatever team they sign up for the 3 races, they pay through the team.
Okay. But I guess the part that I'm kind of intrigued by was when you interviewed the gentleman from HBI, he didn't have a definitive answer for your question as an owner of a team. Which
was crazy that an owner who's got riders there doesn't even know if it's coming to him or the riders. That is a big problem, but I don't know.
That's
it's a new series. Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm just wondering if, since you did that interview, because that would have been 2 weeks ago, and now we have the first round, is it a little bit more crystal clear? Like if you were to talk to one or any of those riders, do they know what it's going to be? Because I haven't had a chance to talk to any riders the last couple of weeks.
Let me text him and see if he'll get back to us before the show's over.
Yeah, I would just be curious to see.
Was over.
Yep. And
Dude,
Johnny,
nothing. Damn,
Johnny,
Cooksey.
Also curious, the World Supercross with those 3 venues being canceled. Just a little bit of a side question for you on that. Does that mean that they're going to take, or will they take the original prize purse from those 3 rounds that were canceled? Will they stack those into Australia and the other round that was not canceled?
That is a good question, but I would have to say no. I'd have to ask Adam Bailey, but off the top of my head, I would say no. They're going to just keep the money what they have, and they're going to leave the prize money how it is for the teams, because there's going to be less cost for the teams to show up there anyway, because they don't have to box their bikes and ship them to different countries.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious about that.
Tevin, what do you think of World Supercross? Have you watched any of it?
I didn't even hear that it was canceled.
Well, three races, 3 of the 6 were canceled.
I was wondering about it. I haven't heard anything, but it's not yeah, the not the best of the best, so it's nothing really much to.
What's more exciting, Motocross of Nations or World Supercross? Whole panel.
Nations.
World Supercross.
World Supercross.
World Supercross, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, but
and to
Tevin,
Tevin's point, though, I wouldn't be saying that with World Supercross unless there was a Ken Roxon that's already committed. We've heard that Webb's going to do a couple of them, and to Tevin's point, it's
But like,
not 12 or 15 guys, it's 2.
exactly. In my dream world, it will be every 4 years or 2 years, whatever you guys said. Of course.
Yeah.
Every
So
year it just dilutes the product.
the chat room is saying that World Supercross is going to fold. And I am just going to say pretty much
And exactly, it's
anything that
still
has
new.
money. So sorry, go for it, Tevin.
I'm just saying it's still new to me, so it's still got to make its mark.
Yeah, even though
attention.
this is the second year, you normally have like a beta test year, and this one should have been their big one, but it looks like this one's just another testing year too. My point that I'm making to the chat is that when you have an influx of money, it doesn't matter how crappy your show is, it's going to stay around. So as long as they've got good investors and they've got $1 billion soccer investors, it's going to be around. And
I think the key is
to be better.
That letter B that you just mentioned, Johnny. There's a difference between a millionaire and a billionaire. And I think you nailed it on the head right there. It isn't just a couple guys that are wealthy. These are billionaire dudes, 2 of them that have decided to engage in this. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, look at the Fast and the Furious movies.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why they keep making freaking 10, 12 of these things, but they keep finding good actors and spending all sorts of, because they've got money to do it.
Now, Chris and Johnny, did you guys get a chance to talk to Adam? With the influx of these new investors, is there going to be any format changes to the race, prize money, more riders trying to be solicited to commit to the whole series? I don't know if you've had that conversation with him or not.
I have not, John. Have you?
No.
So I did hear. So, okay, it looks like the SMX money is going to be paid to the riders. It was unclear when the series started, but they said they may reach out to team managers because it's direct deposit and they need to make sure they got the riders' bank account information correctly.
But that's the complete contrast to what they announced a couple of weeks ago, that the money was going to the teams, not the riders.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
That's directly from Matt Bell.
That's perfect. That's cool.
So is that a PR deal? Is that public pressure that's now saying that they're trying to do something different now than what they originally said? I mean, am I speculating here?
No, I think you're spot on.
But you're speculating. But yes,
Yeah.
you're probably right, but you're speculating.
But let's take both of what you guys just said, speculation, but spot on. What would really matter is not the guy that's going to get $20,000 as a privateer. What's going to matter is the $1 million or the 500,000. Not that we would ever be able to get Hunter and Jet to be able to talk about it, but that's going to be the $1 million question. Because if it just,
they're pretty transparent, Coach.
I hate to say that. You're exactly right, especially with Lucas being their agent. He'll just flat out tell you what it is. He doesn't mince words.
Yeah, if it were some of the other guys, no, but those 2, you probably could. Like I said,
well, think about the one guy you tried to get a little bit of information from and got shut down this week, asshole. But anyway, don't mention names. Just we know Lucas is. He's
it
no
wasn't
bullshit
Lucas
guy.
Myrtle, that's for sure.
No, Lucas will tell you exactly. If he can tell you, he will, and he'll tell you exactly what he thinks on top of it. like Hunter, what's your call on that? I think it's bullshit. Those guys are awesome. Doesn't matter if they're in a press conference. Yeah, I think it's a bunch of bullshit.
Oh, but that's what this is probably why we're such big fans of them, is this is what the sport needs, is transparency. We don't need perfection, but we need authenticity. And that's why, listen, I was a little hard on the Deegs for when he came in, because I didn't think he had the heart. I figured he was just a rich kid that just had everything given to him. Well, now that I see the dog in him, and I love the fact that he shows his emotions and he doesn't care. He says whatever he thinks, right, wrong, indifferent. And I'm sorry, this is the guy I've been waiting for, Coach.
Yeah, well, I think you've got 2 situations there. We've talked about this on the show previously. I think when you're dealing with the Lawrences, especially with their dad, Dazzy, their agent, Lucas, and then 2 riders that did not grow up underneath the thumb of MX Sports, they'll say whatever the heck they want. Everybody else is deathly afraid to open their mouth. Those 4 guys don't care. All you got to do is listen to Whiskey Throttle's interview. Dazzy said the amateur system here is a joke, to the fact that he had even threatened on taking Jet back to MXGPs because they weren't even getting a legitimate 20-minute moto, even though that was advertised that the pro sport class would get one. So Dazzy doesn't take crap, calls a spade a spade. Lucas does the same thing. But you look at any other rider, they're definitely afraid if they open their mouth, they're going to get ostracized big time. And the only thing I disagree with you on Deegan is I just feel bad for people like, yeah, I know he had a lot of emotion and a lot of passion, but you know, I forget which one of you guys maybe had mentioned it, but you know, I just think if you're somebody who has grown up and you've seen how hard your mom and dad, Johnny, you talked about this with Jace, when you work, you see how hard your mom and dad work to buy you that helmet. And yes, you might be disappointed. You don't throw your helmet down and you don't kick the motorcycle. Now, granted, he's a factory rider and he's got a lot of passion, but you know, I'm thinking his mechanics got to fix anything he breaks. Bobby Reagan's got to pay for anything that he breaks, relatively speaking. So that's where I have a little bit, because I'll give a testimony of something I screwed up on. When I got into BMX, I was racing here locally. We had state number 1, state number 2, and we had 2 top 10 national riders all in one class. At the time, it was 14 expert. And I did pretty well, got into the expert class within a year. And I was disappointed in my first race. And I came in and I wanted to show my dad how disappointed I was. And I threw my bike down. And my dad smoked a pipe and he looked at me. He says, you didn't raise his voice. He goes, you pick that bike up. And if you ever throw that bike down again, you will never race another day in your life. I never threw my bike down ever again. And it's just the respect and the reverence of people pay for that bike. People give you the privilege to be here. That's the only thing I disagree with. And if it was somebody who came up on a shoestring budget, because you guys have mentioned it in both your videos, yes, I think the Deegans have done a great job with Hayden. I think they've done a great job of teaching him how to handle pressure, whether that's in front of a camera, doing a backflip, whatever it is. Not every young person can deal with that kind of pressure. Johnny, you talked about the amount of pressure. Chris, you've talked about it on your videos as well. The amount of pressure that your dad's put you under. It either makes you create resentment, anger, whatever it may be. And you both have also mentioned, what's he going to do when he turns 21 or even 18? Well, he still had that same relationship with his parents. That's going to be the big litmus test. So, Chris, it's not that I disagree with you. I was raised that if I were to kick that motorcycle and throw my helmet, my dad would grab me by the choker chain and be like, excuse me.
See, that's where it's perception on different experiences.
Because I love the passion. Don't get me wrong. I love the fact that he cares that much, but not at the destruction of very expensive equipment.
I'm not
Tevin, interesting. Are you a big Deegan fan?
Hold on. I'm not. Johnny, can I just jump in? I'm not justifying the actions.
Yeah.
I'm justifying the authentic reaction. That's
Absolutely.
I'm not saying it's okay to kick a bike. I'm not saying it's okay to kick a helmet. And I got to jump in here, Johnny. I just got a text back from Matt Bell. He said the biggest problem they had with the payout is riders don't update their bank accounts, and they found out they were sending money to ex-girlfriends and stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I like it. Riders need financial advisors, because why would you still have a joint account with somebody that you're not with?
Why would you still have it on the AMA sheet where you're getting your pay?
Yeah. All right. Sorry.
Go ahead, Tevin.
Yeah, I like Deegan. I didn't really see much issue with him kicking the bike and all that. Of course, that was like a really monumental race for him, so of course he's pissed, right? But yeah, I've been watching the YouTube channel since he was on 60, so I've seen the growth, and I like his style. I like aggressive style, so it doesn't really matter what bike you ride for. If you have a nice aggressive style, I like you. I don't care what you say on the podium, how humble you are, how humble you're not, whatever. I like the dude.
Dude, Devin, watching him hang off that bike last week when you had that jump before the finish line, that little, oh my God, it was terrifying.
Yeah.
It was just violent, dude.
Well, and Tevin brings up another point. A lot of people gave Deegan kind of a hall pass because his bike broke and it cost him the championship, but people tend to have amnesia because the same thing happened to Hunter. Now, like Tevin just said, we're not trying to compare one to the other. That's just completely different personalities. It doesn't make one better than the other, but you know, it does validate what Tevin just said, because people, if you're all in on Deegan, you're all in, right? You think that, oh shoot, he lost that championship because of that DNF of a mechanical, but we can't forget that Hunter had the exact same thing. But it just shows you what our brains will kind of process and focus in on. And again, props to Deegans. They know how to control the narrative 100%.
Just like what you said, it's a narrative, right?
Yep.
You could swing it as much as you want. Jason and I, we kind of argued back and forth about this for a little bit, and he made up a good point that it's like, hey, think about it. Because I don't think you should ever be mean to the bike that's keeping you safe. And yeah, it blew up and whatnot, and it's like, where does that fall in line? Is it his responsibility to show people how to act? Because they might perceive his actions as this is how you do it at a local level. No, it's up to the parents to say, hey, do you see how this is doing? We're going to do it differently. But that's not up to Deegan. He's just in the midst of it. And yeah, he gets all of his stuff for free. And so that works. Right. And it was just an interesting, different take on it, which was.
But let me add a dynamic to it, Johnny. Go back and watch the video. And I think it was the first time Hunter's bike broke, and Hunter immediately jumps off and starts helping the mechanic push it back to the pits. To me, it's not about, again, I'm just looking at this from 10,000 foot. I look at what Hunter's actions were, not to appease me, not for me to go, that I like that. That's cool. That's mature. To me, it was the message that Hunter sent to his mechanic, that he's like, hey, it's mechanical, shit happens. I'm not pissed. What do I need to do to help so that we can get this thing fixed and let's come back? Where what did Deegan do? Left the bike, got in a mule and drove off, right? So to me, I'm like, I look at the idea of what was the message that Hunter sent to the team? Shit happens. Deegan was, it's everyone else's fault but my own.
Well,
now that's just my
Hunter was
hold on.
definitely
Let me
more
Hunter-
stoic about it. And Deegan was like, honestly, if you drop a big heavy box on your toe, you're probably going to be like, oh, fuck, Yeah. And so that was Deegan's reaction, which you can't really harm him for.
Hunter's 24, Hayden's 17.
True.
Good point.
Hayden didn't handle it the right way the first time. Last week, hold on, Johnny, let me talk. Last weekend, when he crashed and he stuffed his exhaust, he's pushing there's no cameras on him. I don't know if you saw, I filmed him pushing his own bike with no mechanics. He didn't have to do that. He could have just left it and went back to the pits, especially with the digger that he just took. He learned from it. And that's where I went, okay, I'm not going to fault a 17-year-old for making a bad decision.
No,
Hunter's 24. Who's to say Hunter didn't kick a bike when he was 17?
And I'm not looking at it in regards to what their age difference is. I'm just thinking the message that Hunter sent to his mechanic. And like you said, maybe after he kicked the bike, maybe Reagan and the mechanic and even Brian said, hey man, come on.
Yes.
You got to try to help. And like you said, just that quick. And I think you both have said it, Johnny, even with Jace and Chris, you've said it in several, if he learns on a drop of a dime, hey, we've all been there and done that. But I just always think about the attitude of appreciation. As we always joke about, right? The rider can wreck the bike 45 times in a moto, but that bike can't break. If it breaks, everybody wants to hang the mechanics, So that's to me where I'm like, man, when you look at what, like you said, Chris, what Hayden did to push that bike back, that sets an attitude in the tent. Like, man, we're in this together. Not you work for me, bitch. It's, hey, I'm sorry this happens. I'm not mad about it, but what can I do? Or, how much have we talked about, Deegan revs that thing to the moon and back. Can you imagine being his mechanic, just like Barsha's? You're just waiting for the thing to grenade.
Well, I think he brought his own mechanic over too with part of the Star Yamaha deal.
But how stressful would that be with all the points down to that last? You guys have been around professional mechanics. That's the most thankless job in the world. They work 20 hours a day. And like we always say, they could wad it up 100 times, but man, that bike can't let go because all you're going to hear about, oh, he had a mechanical. They don't say he wrecked 14 times. They just says he has a mechanical. Poor mechanics, they get screwed coming and going.
They're like field goal kickers on extra points. You just assume it's there. And when they miss it, you're just garbage. But when you make it, it's no big deal.
Yep. I can't imagine how nerve-wracking it is. Goodness
Yeah,
gracious.
so I was going to say, how do they feel when a bike blows up? Like that's how they feel.
Well, and the crazy part is, if we looked at how many laps the bikes have run successfully versus that one time at Grenades, we only talk about the one time at Grenades, not the 744 laps in a season where the bike was
and all the
flawless.
effort, the sweat and tears that go into doing something like that is a very tough situation to, on the outside, try to dissect.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we've been going for, oh shit, my lights are,
And
we were going
everything's
for, we've been going
Power's
for an
out.
hour
We lost
15.
Johnny.
Yeah,
no
dude,
AC,
for like the
no
fifth
lights,
time
no
here,
nothing.
man. I want to know who you guys think is gonna win. playoff round 2. It's double points. So arguably whoever wins this race is probably going to have the red plate. Maybe. We will start with Tevin since he is our guest. 450s and
Okay.
250s. Who do you think is going to win?
I'm gonna give it to Deegan, the overall. 450. 450, I'll say Jet comes back for the overall. It doesn't get a 1-1, but the overall.
Okay.
Deegan and Lawrence, yeah.
Cooksey, we'll go with you.
I got to
We'll
go with
save-
Jet. I think Jet's going to get it together in the 450s, in the 250s. Let me just see who was fast today. I don't have the results. pulled up.
Where did Jake?
Ah,
Oh, I was gonna say, where'd Jake
see.
Coop on this track fit in?
I don't know.
Is
I'm
it-
trying to pull it up.
They
right
are
now.
saying predominantly this is more of an
Track
outdoorsy track, correct?
Dude, listen to the top. Pierce Brown 1, Max Mullen 2, Ryder D 3, Jalik Swole 4. You know what? I'm gonna go Swole. I like Swole, and he just does it on weird times. And this just seems like the time that he could bust out like a 2-1. I'm gonna
Think
go out.
so?
I'm gonna go out and just say Swole. Wishful thinking.
I have no faith in Swill,
No,
period. I just can't do. I think he needs a whole new team, whole new setup.
he's getting it. Don't worry.
Yeah, yeah.
He's going to Triumph. So
Triumph, okay.
yeah.
I would have preferred Pro Circuit.
Yeah. I don't think Pro Circuit was knocking on the door. Take
Yeah.
what's available. Coach, who do you got?
With it going more outdoorsy, I'm going to go with Tevin and yourself. I'm going to go definitely Jet for outdoors. And I think Shimoda's on a pretty good steamroll right now. I think he's going to be hard to beat. You know, he did well in the last couple outdoor nationals. And as if we could steal a line from Ricky Carmichael, I'd much rather have momentum than a points lead. No, that's Jeff Emig. Excuse me.
I was like,
Rather
please
have
don't steal anything from Ricky. Oh
no,
my God.
I was going to say, I think it's from Jeff Emig when he was announcing he'd much
It
rather
was,
take
it was.
momentum than a points lead. So I'm going to go with Shimoda on the 250, especially if we're going to stick to an outdoorsy type of track. And I think Jet will bring that outdoor finesse back in there and stamp it on the top.
I'm gonna steal from Ricky, and I want Hunter Deegan to win for the Hunter brothers. You know,
Oh,
and then
Johnny,
Jet Sexton in the 450s.
for Hodaka.
Yep.
On the purple bike. I always love it when
The
Ralph Shaheen
purple-
used to say that yellow bike out there. Like, who the hell's watching this?
I'm
Doesn't know
gonna
what bike
say-
that is.
The Supercross champ, Sexton's going to win 450s. And then I want to see Tom Vial in the 250s.
He
That's
might.
that's not
He
a bad call there.
That's a good call. I like
Again,
that one.
momentum. If
I forgot
momentum's
about him.
carrying,
Yeah. No
outdoors.
rhythms. He doesn't have to quad anything.
What's
Dude, you know what's crazy? He actually is really good in those rhythms, Johnny. He is technical.
what's the start like? Is it a long start? Will Vial get another one like he did last? Well, that was a
It
relatively
is. It's a
short start.
long left-hander. Long left-hander.
He
It's a
seems to
long
do-
left-hander that comes way back. It looks like a Glen Helen reverse start is what it looks like with no embankment.
Does that
If
mean
that
4
makes-
Yamahas?
Well, you guys
Probably.
know, I like JT Money a lot. I think he's a fantastic commentator. And
The chat thinks Deegan. I didn't even have Tom on there, guys. I'm sorry. The chat. I
Yeah.
didn't even put my thing on
Hey,
there.
can Coach finish talking about JT? I know I like Ricky, but he likes JT. So
I like JT because he brought up a good point. You know, Vial historically has been a fantastic starter at the MXGPs, and we just haven't seen it here. So if he gets that mojo back on the start, especially if it's nice and long, like you're saying, Johnny, and he can get a good jump out there, and then you add the momentum and high speed, very MXGP-ish, man, that's a good call, Johnny. I don't think you're
Well,
going to go
and this-
wrong with that one.
this track is a lot like those temporary tracks they build in like Abu Dhabi, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it now, obviously we saw it last week, even what they said the track map was going to be and what it actually came to fruition was a little bit different, you know, not quite as many jumps as they had originally outlined, but I don't know. I haven't seen any video from today. Have you guys?
I have to. That's the next thing I'm gonna do is look that stuff up. You guys
Yeah.
know what kind of a shit show I had going, just getting this stuff going. I'm like,
Well,
I'll
it's
head
not
over-
your
I'll-
fault.
I'm
I'll head o-
struggling.
I'm going to head over to 441 and see what you got posted there, Devin.
It's the best.
yeah. So in guys, everybody check out Tevin's channel. It's been around for a while. He does a really good job. Make sure you go and subscribe to his stuff. And Tevin, dude, thanks for coming on. I know like live shows are difficult because there is no
Those fun.
take backs. You say something stupid, it's live. But thank God you joined one of the shittiest live shows around. That's literally called the Shit Show. So I appreciate you coming on board, brother.
Thanks
Keep
for
up the
having
good
me.
work, Tevin. Keep up the
Hey,
good work, buddy.
Can I give a shout out, Johnny? Honestly, any of you guys that are watching that watch UFC or MMA, I started a MMA channel, Cooksey Media MMA, trying to build that up too. I've got some hookups in the industry, and you'll hear about that coming up in the future here. So
Very cool.
I should
Hell
have a good
yeah.
line in MMA.
And
Hell
Chris,
yeah.
thanks for the coverage while you were at the race. I mean, there's a lot of balls in the air at one time, but you know, when you're doing the live feed and seeing the guys in real time is pretty cool, especially as they were coming by you in that fast section.
Yeah,
It's
were
cool.
you using a gimbal or something? Because it seemed very stable.
Yeah, gimbal and a phone. That's all I used. And
I'm
I like
impressed.
I like when the
didn't see
dad and the
this type
boy
of
comes
a
up and goes, "Hey
technical
man, love
savvy
your
person.
stuff," and you're like, "We're live." That was
yeah, I
cool.
put everyone. I could not, dude. I'm sorry. I'm actually kind of floored at how many people yelled Cooksey Mob and came up and took pictures. I'm like, man,
That's
the mob
cool.
is strong, and they're like, oh, we love you, Coach Hopper. You know, I'm like, we're making waves. And then and I talked to a few that, well, Feld will hate this, but some of the guys.
I don't know. Are you going to go there? I don't know if you should call them out.
No.
Let's
there's-
just do you know how
Keep
to
the-
win friends and influence people,
keep
Cooksey?
that
Yes,
close.
even if
No.
they
I'm
treat
being
you bad.
nice. I was about to compliment.
No. I know you're going to compliment,
sure you
but
were.
don't give.
I don't
the-
want to.
Don't
You're
give
right.
the
I don't want.
source.
I don't even
Don't
want
give
to
the
tell.
source.
I'm
Don't
not giving
give
the
the source.
source. It leaves it pretty wide open. So,
Okay, we'll
but-
go with it then. Go with it.
Well, there's just some employees that work at Feld, and we get brought up in their meetings quite a bit, just so you know. They say they don't pay attention. They absolutely pay attention.
Well, of
and
course, we
that's-
get rules changed and all sorts of stuff. Like, come on. I mean, how naive? How much?
I know, but
copy-
it's just funny that they say that we don't matter, and then yet they're discussing us. And the reason that they said they discuss us a lot is because they know we're not muffling it. We're not on the payroll. So they kind of want to know what we're thinking.
Well, wait till they see the momentum of Tevin on board. All
Hell
shit's
yeah,
gonna really
441.
hit. That's it.
By the
Momentum's
way, I
gonna
love
shift.
those rings, Tevin. Those things are sick, dude.
They're
They're so cool.
Chains.
Yep, I love them.
Yeah, chains. Like
Next time Sean Brennan from Feld walks up on me, boom. I'm gonna get some. I'm just kidding. I'm not threatening John. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
That was a joke.
He already ran away from me when I just yelled his name. So
That was
Well,
too
you
funny.
sound very
That
bitter.
was
You
too
sound very
funny.
bitter.
slightly. Fuck that guy.
I love it.
All
Well,
right,
Johnny,
guys. Well, on that note, it's been a pleasure. And till next Friday, keep it WFO. Oh, Tevin, can you brop? Do you know how? Do you want to brop?
Rob.
Brop.
Yeah,
Hell
we-
yeah!
we end
Now
every
we
show
just need a
bropping.
brop, I need to figure out how to end the live.
Coach sounded like he lost his muffler packing at the end there.
Exactly. I was gonna say I screwed that one. I was trying to go to